In the silent blackness of the South China Sea, a team of determined scientists carefully prepared an experiment that would push the boundaries of what we know about the deep sea. Under flickering lights on the research vessel, they winched an entire cow carcass overboard, its lifeless body swaying gently above the ink-dark waves. Below, an abyss waited, pressing down with thousands of pounds of crushing force. As the carcass slipped beneath the surface, cameras attached to weighted rigs began their long journey, descending more than 1,600 meters. That is over a mile straight down, into a realm where sunlight has never touched the ocean floor. What they captured down there would surprise even seasoned marine biologists. In a place so dark and remote, where food is scarce and survival means adapting to the strangest extremes, they expected scavengers to appear. But when massive shadows began to circle, the team realized something much bigger, stranger, and more powerful had arrived. In that moment, the experiment turned into a window into the secret world of giant predators lurking where the ocean swallows light and life moves in the dark. But why drop a cow that deep in the first place? Why risk so much effort just to see what would come? The answers lie in decades of deep-sea research, curiosity, and a desire to reveal the ocean's most elusive giants. The mission behind the madness. This wasn't the wild idea of thrill seekers on a fishing boat. It was the carefully designed work of a team of experienced marine biologists and deep-sea research experts. Scientists who study ocean ecosystems have long been fascinated by the rare moments when something massive, like a whale or a large animal, sinks to the seafloor. These natural events, known as whale falls, create pop-up buffets in the deepest parts of the ocean, feeding entire communities that survive in pitch darkness. But whale falls are unpredictable and rare. So to better understand how life responds to sudden surges of food, scientists have recreated these events in controlled ways. This time, the South China Sea became the setting for one of the most unusual experiments ever attempted. The South China Sea is one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth, its deep basins and trenches hiding species still unknown to science. This particular drop zone, over a mile down at exactly 1,629 meters, was chosen because it sits within a unique transition zone between coastal waters and the abyssal plain. The depth was no accident. At that crushing pressure, over 2,300 pounds per square inch, only the hardiest life survives. Dropping a cow carcass there would give scientists a rare chance to witness how these deep-sea creatures react to sudden, massive food sources that could sustain them for months. Such experiments are not new. Over the years, marine researchers have sunk whales, pigs, and even alligator carcasses to test how different predators and scavengers respond. Each case uncovers new secrets about the ocean's hidden food chain. The cow drop was the latest chapter in this strange but crucial line of study, blending daring fieldwork with underwater cameras, robotic submersibles, and an insatiable hunger to discover what lurks where humans almost never go. This was the moment to see what would come crawling, swimming, and maybe even hunting in the deep. Why use a cow carcass? Dropping a cow carcass into the depths of the South China Sea might sound like a reckless stunt, but there is solid science behind this strange experiment. Deep below the ocean's surface, life depends on a rare and unpredictable food supply. When a giant creature like a whale dies and sinks, it becomes a massive source of nutrients for an entire community of scavengers and predators. These events, known as whale falls, have fascinated marine biologists for decades because they reveal how life can flourish in a place where food is otherwise almost non-existent. But whale falls are impossible to predict. Researchers needed a way to recreate this natural event on their own terms, using something large enough to mimic the impact of a whale's descent to the ocean floor. A cow carcass might seem out of place in the sea, but it provides a similar bounty of flesh and fat for hungry deep-sea creatures. By studying how a cow carcass breaks down underwater, scientists can better understand the crucial role that these large organic falls play in sustaining the deep ocean food chain. Every shred of flesh is devoured, every bone picked clean by creatures that thrive in total darkness, from hagfish to crabs to elusive sleeper sharks that may roam for miles following the scent of fresh meat. There is controversy too. Some conservationists question the ethics of adding foreign bodies to fragile marine ecosystems, even for research. But many experts argue that the payoff is worth it. Similar experiments have already changed what we know about the ocean's most secretive predators. Whale falls discovered off the Californian coast and even pig carcasses dropped into the Gulf of Mexico have shown just how quickly life assembles when a feast appears in the deep. A cow carcass, unusual as it sounds, is simply the latest chapter in this quest to witness how nature's recycling system works far below the waves. Setting the stage, into the abyss. Before the first shark even appeared, the mission had to overcome the ocean's most hostile conditions. To reach depths over a mile down in the South China Sea, the research team relied on specially designed submersibles and remote cameras capable of withstanding incredible pressure. At those depths, the weight of the water above is so immense that any ordinary equipment would be crushed instantly. Each camera housing is reinforced and tested again and again to make sure it can survive a world where darkness rules and temperatures hover just above freezing. The cameras, rigged to heavy weights and steel cables, were slowly lowered through the water column, following the cow carcass into the abyss. As they descended, sunlight faded until it disappeared completely. No light from the surface ever reaches this part of the ocean. In fact, even in shallower deep-sea zones, sunlight only penetrates a few hundred meters at most before darkness takes over entirely. This is a place where bioluminescence becomes the only source of light, as tiny organisms generate their own eerie glow to attract prey or ward off predators. The average depth of Earth's oceans is staggering, yet these experiments often push well beyond that, exploring trenches and basins that remain largely unexplored. The South China Sea, with its complex underwater geography, holds countless pockets where strange life thrives under extreme conditions. The cold temperatures slow decomposition, allowing a carcass to become a buffet for months. Meanwhile, the immense pressure, measured in thousands of pounds per square inch, shapes creatures into forms few would recognize. By setting the stage so deep and so far from human reach, scientists can observe how scavengers, small and large, find their way through this pitch-black maze, drawn by the scent of a feast that could change what we know about the hidden giants of the deep. First visitors, the early arrivals. Long before the giant shadows emerged, the cow carcass attracted the ocean's tireless clean-up crew. In the pitch-black depths of the South China Sea, the first visitors were small but relentless. Hagfish were among the earliest to appear. These slippery, eel-like creatures have an uncanny ability to detect the faintest scent of decay drifting through the water. Once they arrive, they burrow inside the carcass, tearing through flesh and releasing clouds of sediment that signal to others that a meal has arrived. Hagfish play an essential role in the deep-sea food chain. Without them, dead matter would linger for years, never broken down. Crabs scuttled in next. Deep-sea crab species are specially adapted for survival under immense pressure. They swarm over every inch of a fresh carcass, using their claws to scrape away meat and pick at bone. These small scavengers rarely get an opportunity this big, so they waste no time. Researchers observing whale falls in other regions have found that within hours, entire communities gather around the body, forming a living, moving ring of creatures that break down what the ocean delivers. Eels and other opportunistic feeders soon joined the feast, slithering through gaps the hagfish created. What surprised scientists most was the speed. Even at depths beyond a mile, the chemical signals given off by decaying flesh travel astonishing distances. It is a testament to how perfectly tuned these creatures are to the ocean's rhythms. They must be, because the next chance to eat something so large might not come again for years. Each scavenger plays a part, stripping away layers, recycling nutrients, and setting the stage for larger predators that follow these first arrivals through the pitch black, guided only by the promise of a meal worth fighting for. The big surprise, the giants arrive as the hours passed and the smaller scavengers worked tirelessly to claim every bite they could. The scene around the cow carcass began to shift. The cameras, quietly humming in their protective casings, recorded flickers of movement at the edges of the frame. These shadows were different. They moved with a grace that only powerful hunters possess, gliding just beyond the ring of crabs and hagfish. Then, with an eerie silence, the giants made themselves known. Out of the darkness emerged the unmistakable shape of the Pacific sleeper shark, one of the ocean's most elusive predators. Pacific sleeper sharks are rarely seen, let alone filmed in their natural deep-sea habitat. These giants can reach lengths of over 20 feet and weigh close to a ton, yet they remain some of the least understood sharks on the planet. Unlike their faster, shallower relatives, sleeper sharks thrive in near-freezing temperatures, conserving energy by drifting slowly through the water. They rely on a heightened sense of smell and an ability to detect faint vibrations to locate carcasses like this one, even in complete darkness. Watching these sharks feed is like witnessing an ancient ritual. Their massive jaws latch onto chunks of meat, tearing away with surprising force before they disappear back into the blackness. For years, marine biologists believed these sharks were sluggish scavengers, but new footage has revealed a far more versatile predator. In some regions, they have been spotted feeding on seals, squids, and even fish nearly as large as themselves. Some sleeper sharks have been found with remains of giant squid in their stomachs, evidence of hunts that must take place far beyond the reach of sunlight. Cameras on this cow drop experiment captured rare behavior. One shark circled the carcass multiple times, moving with deliberate slowness, perhaps waiting for the smaller scavengers to open up easier access points. It is a perfect example of how deep-sea predators adapt to extreme scarcity, conserving every bit of energy until the moment is right. These sharks have been tracked at incredible depths across the Pacific and the Arctic, living lives that remain mostly hidden from human eyes. Even more surprising was the arrival of other giants. A deep-sea squid hovered just beyond the feeding site, its tentacles flaring as it investigated the commotion. Giant amphipods the size of a human hand gathered around the edges, drawn by the same chemical signals that brought the crabs and hagfish. The entire scene looked like something from another world. Every new visitor added to the story of how one unexpected feast can ripple through an ecosystem that usually survives on scraps. These rare glimpses into the secret life of the deep ocean remind scientists why they take such risks to stage these experiments. Each shadow, each glimpse of a massive predator or ghostly squid, becomes another clue to understanding how life persists where it seems impossible. And while the sleeper sharks stole the show, they were only one part of the vast, hidden network of creatures that circle in the gloom, waiting for the next meal to fall from above. Other famous deep-sea feeding events. The cow carcass experiment in the South China Sea is just one chapter in a longer story of remarkable deep-sea discoveries. Years ago, researchers from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute documented one of the first naturally occurring whale falls ever filmed. Off the coast of California, they found the massive skeleton of a dead whale resting on the ocean floor, more than a mile deep. It had become an underwater oasis, teeming with life that included crabs, hagfish, and bizarre worms that feed on the whale's oil-rich bones. This single carcass sustained an entire ecosystem for decades, showing just how important these rare events are to the ocean's nutrient cycle. Farther north, the frigid waters of the Arctic have revealed their own secrets. Greenland sharks, close relatives of the Pacific sleeper shark, were recorded feeding on sunken carcasses in these icy depths. These ancient predators, some of the longest living vertebrates on the planet, can live for centuries. In the Arctic, scientists have found that dead whales and large fish create feeding opportunities that might be the difference between survival and starvation for these slow-moving giants. Their behavior is astonishingly similar to what was seen during the South China Sea experiment, proving that these sharks, no matter how sluggish they appear, are perfectly tuned for ambush and scavenging in pitch-black waters. In the North Atlantic, researchers have also studied sleeper shark activity around natural whale falls. They found that decomposition happens in stages. Soft tissues are devoured within months, while bones and oil-rich remains can fuel entire food webs for years. Each stage attracts different species, from the smallest amphipods to massive sharks. The impact of these rare carcass drops is enormous. They inject sudden bursts of nutrients into ecosystems that often go without large meals for decades. Observing these natural feeding events, and recreating them in controlled experiments, helps marine biologists understand how deep-sea life weaves together in ways we are only just beginning to grasp. These glimpses into the ocean's dark heart are reminders that even the largest creatures, in death, breathe life into the hidden depths. Controversies and ethics. As compelling as these deep-sea carcass drops are, they raise important questions about the boundaries of scientific research. Sinking a cow into the ocean might seem harmless at first glance, but critics argue that introducing foreign organic matter into sensitive marine ecosystems can create ripple effects we do not fully understand. Some conservationists believe that large bait drops could attract predators to areas they would not normally visit, potentially disrupting natural patterns or putting stress on fragile communities that have evolved to survive on meager resources. Scientists involved in these experiments counter this by pointing to the valuable data gained from every dive and every carcass that sinks to the seafloor. By recreating rare events like whale falls, researchers can observe species that are otherwise impossible to study in the wild. The knowledge gathered helps conservationists map predator ranges, understand nutrient cycles, and protect species like the Pacific sleeper shark and Greenland shark, which face threats from fishing and climate change. Similar experiments using pigs, goats, and other large animals have shaped modern marine biology, offering insights into the balance between life and death far below the waves. Ethical debate is part of what keeps this research transparent and thoughtful. The ocean remains Earth's last unexplored frontier, and each controversial experiment forces scientists to ask hard questions about how far they should go to uncover its secrets. For now, the cow carcass drifting down into the abyss stands as a symbol of both human curiosity and our responsibility to understand the ocean without causing it harm. What this tells us about the ocean. Every time scientists drop something as massive as a cow carcass into the deep ocean, they peel back another layer of how life works far beneath the surface. These large food falls reveal that entire communities of deep-sea creatures depend on the rare chance to feast on something big. Without these carcass drops, many scavengers would never get the nutrients they need to survive. It is not just about the hagfish, crabs, or eels. The presence of apex predators like the Pacific sleeper shark shows how far these giants will travel for food and how vital these events are in maintaining the delicate balance of ocean ecosystems. Seeing sleeper sharks glide through the pitch-black depths proves just how vast their hunting grounds really are. They are not aimless drifters. They are patient hunters and opportunistic feeders, waiting in the cold darkness until the ocean delivers a reward. This also gives researchers new clues about how marine food webs are connected across thousands of miles, linking shallow waters to the deepest basins. Understanding these hidden networks is crucial as climate change alters ocean currents and food supplies. What happens when whale populations shift or when ocean temperatures rise? The data from these experiments helps scientists predict how deep-sea creatures might adapt or struggle in the decades ahead. Every carcass that falls, whether naturally or by design, helps unlock the secrets of how life endures in the world's final frontier, the abyss where the smallest meal can ripple out to feed giants. One cow carcass, dropped over a mile deep into the South China Sea, opened a window into a hidden world that most of us will never see with our own eyes. In that dark realm, every scrap of flesh matters, and creatures we once thought were sluggish drifters reveal themselves as ancient predators perfectly evolved for the cold, crushing blackness. Watching the Pacific sleeper shark circle and feed reminds us that the ocean is still full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. How many more giants roam these depths right now, just beyond the reach of our cameras? How many undiscovered species drift in the shadows, waiting for the next feast to fall from the world above? These questions keep marine biologists searching, dropping cameras and carcasses into the abyss to learn what survives when light and warmth disappear. If this glimpse into the ocean's deepest hunting grounds left you wanting more, make sure to subscribe for future deep dives into our planet's strangest and most mind-bending discoveries. There is always something new waiting in the dark, and the next time a carcass sinks below the waves, you'll know that dozens of secrets are drifting down with it.